In the winter of 1959, 9 young hikers ventured into the icy wilderness of the Ural Mountains in Russia. They were experienced, prepared, and full of life, embarking on what they called a Grade 3 expedition, one of the most challenging treks possible. They had no idea that this journey would become one of the most chilling mysteries in modern history, known today as the Dyatlov Pass incident. The group, led by Igor Dyatlov, set out on January 27th, with plans to return by February 12th. But when the expected date came and went with no word from them, a search party was launched. What the rescuers found still baffles experts and haunts investigators to this day. On February 26th, their campsite was discovered on the slopes of Kholat-Syakhl, a name the indigenous Mansi people translate to Dead Mountain. The sight was beyond strange. Their tent was ripped open, not from the outside, but from the inside, as if they had frantically tried to escape something. Scattered footprints, some barefoot, others in socks, led into the freezing forest nearby. The first bodies were found near the tree line, under a large cedar tree. They were in a horrifying state, barefoot, dressed only in underwear, lying in the snow as if they had succumbed to hypothermia. Nearby, the remnants of a small fire suggested they had tried desperately to keep warm, but the story becomes even stranger. As the search continued, more bodies were discovered farther from the campsite. These victims had severe injuries. One had a crushed skull, 2 had broken ribs, and one of the women, Lyudmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue. What's even more chilling is that no external wounds explained these injuries. It was as though they had been hit by an immense, unexplained force. Adding to the mystery, traces of radiation were found on some of the hikers' clothing. No signs of an avalanche, animal attack, or natural disaster were present. The official investigation concluded only that the group had died due to a compelling natural force. But what could that force have been?
Theories abound. Some believe the hikers were victims of secret Soviet military experiments, perhaps weapons testing or missile activity. Others speculate they encountered a UFO or a paranormal entity that terrified them into fleeing their tent. More grounded theories suggest infrasound waves caused by the mountain winds triggered panic, disorientation, and irrational behavior. But none of these theories fully explain the evidence. The torn tent, the bizarre injuries, the radiation, everything seems to lead to more questions than answers. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved. The eerie silence of Dead Mountain keeps its secrets close, leaving us only to wonder what truly happened on that fateful night in 1959. In the early 1800s, in the rural town of Adams, Tennessee, a family fell victim to one of the most infamous hauntings in American history. Known as the Bell Witch Haunting, the terrifying events began with strange noises and whispers, and escalated into violent attacks. To this day, the legend of the Bell Witch remains one of the most chilling stories of the paranormal. The story begins in 1817 when John Bell, a farmer, and his family started experiencing unexplainable phenomena at their home. At first, it was subtle, knocking sounds on the walls, objects disappearing, and faint whispers in the dead of night. But soon, the activity became sinister. The Bells would hear eerie laughter echoing through their house and heavy footsteps stomping across the wooden floors even when no one was there. The unseen entity targeted the family relentlessly, but it seemed to harbor a particular hatred for John Bell. The family began to hear a voice, harsh, mocking, and intelligent. It called itself the Witch and claimed it had come to torment John for reasons unknown. Over time, the spirit gained strength, speaking more clearly and interacting with visitors to the Bell home. It would sing hymns, recite Bible verses, and even predict future events with chilling accuracy.
One night, the Bell children screamed in terror as the witch physically attacked them. Invisible hands slapped and pinched them, leaving red marks and bruises. The witch would tug at their hair and pull their blankets off as they slept. For the Bell family, there was no escape, no moment of peace. The haunting became so infamous that word spread beyond the town. Curious visitors and skeptics traveled to the Bell farm to witness the supernatural events firsthand. Among the most famous visitors was President Andrew Jackson, who had heard the tales of the Bell Witch and decided to investigate for himself. Jackson arrived with a group of men, but the moment they set foot on the Bell property, their horses froze in place, refusing to move forward. Jackson reportedly exclaimed, "By the Eternal, this must be the work of the Bell Witch." That night, Jackson and his men experienced unexplainable phenomena, including when the witch was questioned, it laughed and claimed responsibility, saying, "I gave him the poison." To prove it, the witch told them to test the liquid on the family's cat. When they did, the poor animal died instantly. Even after John Bell's death, the witch continued to haunt the family for a time before eventually fading away. However, it promised to return in 7 years, and according to legend, it did, briefly tormenting John Bell's son before vanishing again. Today, the Bell Witch legend endures. Near the site of the original Bell farm lies the Bell Witch Cave, a place many believe to be the witch's dwelling. Visitors report strange occurrences in the cave, whispers, cold spots, and sightings of shadowy figures. Some have even claimed to hear a mocking laughter echoing through the darkness. The cave has become a hot spot for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers, but many leave with an overwhelming sense of dread. Was the Bell Witch a vengeful spirit, a curse, or simply a legend born from the fears of a small town? Whatever the truth may be, the story of the Bell Witch haunting continues to terrify and fascinate, standing as one of the most famous paranormal tales in history. Was the Bell Witch a vengeful spirit, a curse, or simply a legend born from the fears of a small town? Whatever the truth may be, the story of the Bell Witch haunting continues to terrify and fascinate, standing as one of the most famous paranormal tales in history. Even now, in Adams, Tennessee, the name Bell Witch sends chills down the spines of those who dare to speak it aloud. For those who visit the cursed cave or walk the land where the Bell family once lived, one question lingers in the air. Is the witch truly gone, or is it waiting for its next victim? In February 2013, a chilling discovery was made at the infamous Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, a discovery that would spark one of the most disturbing and unsolved mysteries of our time. Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old college student from Vancouver, Canada, had gone missing under bizarre circumstances. What followed was a series of eerie events that left investigators and the world questioning what really happened to her. Elisa Lam was staying at the Cecil Hotel, a place with a dark and troubled history. Known for being the site of suicides, murders, and even connections to serial killers like Richard Ramirez, the Cecil already had an ominous reputation. But Elisa's story took the hotel's legacy of horror to a new level. She was last seen alive on January 31st, 2013. After days with no contact from her, Elisa's parents, who were extremely worried, alerted the police. Flyers were posted around the area and a search began. Gestures, as though she's talking to someone who isn't there. The elevator doors remain open the entire time. The footage ends with Elisa walking away. That was the last time she was seen alive. 2 weeks later, after guests at the hotel complained about foul-smelling, discolored water coming from their faucets, maintenance staff checked the rooftop water tanks. What they found was horrifying. Elisa's body was floating inside one of the tanks. Her death was officially ruled an accidental drowning, But this conclusion raised more questions than answers. To access the water tanks, Elisa would have needed to bypass multiple locked doors and alarms. The tanks themselves were heavy and difficult to open, making it unclear how she could have climbed inside on her own. And then there's the elevator footage. Who, or what, was Elisa interacting with? Was it a mental health episode, as some suggest? Or was there something sinister at play? The internet exploded with theories. Some believed Elisa was being pursued by someone or something. Others speculated about paranormal activity, citing the dark history of the Cecil Hotel. One of the more grounded theories pointed to Elisa's mental health. She had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and it's believed she may not have been taking her medication properly at the time. But even this doesn't fully explain how she ended up in the tank. The Cecil Hotel itself is no stranger to tragedy. It has been the site of countless deaths and crimes, earning it the nickname Hotel Death. Elisa's case added to its infamy, turning it into a modern-day legend that continues to fascinate and terrify. To this day, the mystery of Elisa Lam remains unsolved. Was it an accident, a crime, or something beyond our understanding? The answers are lost in the silence of the Cecil Hotel, and Elisa's story is one that will haunt anyone who dares to dive into its chilling depths.